Hey guys, Matthew Bochsler here. Um, Last minute excitement. Okay. Today, my episode on Facebook Live is going to be with Siris Rivas, and we're starting to open up a discussion around the new possibilities for what relationship could be, might be, and can be in the future. And Siris is going to be on here in just a moment. And we're going to kind of speak to the fact that, here she is, how everybody about what relationship could be. There she is, Siris.
Hi.
Get a little bit lower. Oh, you were already on top of that. Okay, good.
It's like I can get lower or I can go like this. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. And so Siris, I just said we're talking a little bit this morning about your relationship to you and looking at this umbrella of different possibilities that's available for us all in the future with this core staple of our entire culture, which is relationship. So Siris and I are going to be talking about that, giving you a few tools on what else is possible. And now I'd like to introduce, I think she's on that side.
Yeah, hi.
Okay,
Maybe we can, our fingers can connect.
Hey,
boop,
finger relationship.
boop,
How cool is
boop, boop.
fingers? Okay.
Oh, gosh. There's so many jokes there. I'm not going to touch it. Okay, so hi, I'm Siris Rivas Verdejo. Yeah, I love talking about relationships. I feel that a lot of my clients are constantly asking me questions about it because I get that I have a really different take on relationships, and how I relate to people can be really different than other people. And what if how any of us relate to others and how any of us relate to ourselves, what if none of that was right or wrong? It's just how we do what we do.
Yeah. And what if none of it was right or wrong? That's such a great segue into something different, because I hear so many people in my sessions, they're just like, oh my God, I want to fix this. I want to change this. It should be this way. It should be that. But in essence, I always get there's something so different, but people haven't really been exposed to the different part of it yet.
Right. Yeah. So for you, what would you say is that different part of relationships?
Well, I think the biggest part for me personally is, and it's been a long process, believe me, 10 years of actually being willing to be vulnerable to look at what relationship is for me. And that piece is, it's this essential piece where most of my life I was taught to avoid what was important for me, essential for me. Like, what are the essential energies that I have to have to be vulnerable with me, regardless if I'm with another person or not. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Because I looked at that as well. I was just talking with a client earlier today about I started dating when I was 12. And I was still forming who I was and getting an idea clear of who I was in the midst of a bunch of family tumultuous change, divorces, and things like that, and hormones and middle school and everything that comes with that, at least based on what I knew at the time that is possible with that. And so there was a lot of shift and change, and I had no idea what was true for me. I was basically looking externally all the time to get a gauge as to what was who I was. I was like, okay, that seems like fun. That might work. That person's getting praise for that. So maybe I should do that too, so I can get praise. And it seems like that this is what fits being a good daughter and a good granddaughter and a good girl in this world. And so I was trying to use all these external markers and guides instead of really looking within and being like, okay, what's true for me? What lights me up? What makes me smile? And it took a long time for me as well to not look to the outside to know what was true for me.
Yeah. I mean, how many people are watching right now and they're like aware, like what Siris speaks to, that they're really good at being clear on what everybody else needs. And that's not a wrongness, but there's this place where if you function from that as like one of the footholds of what relationship is to you in business and personal relationships and friends and family, then you always become second. You're like,
Yeah.
your concerns, you never actually get to know what it is that makes you come alive, that, is essential for you. And, Siris, I'm very much the same way growing up in my environment, which was religion and family and keep it the way it is and everybody being integrity sort of thing. And
Hmm.
there's something so different available now if you're willing to step out from the umbrella of everyone else's expectations and projections and rejections of what's the right thing to do.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny because when you're saying, "Oh, you become second," I get that for me, and maybe for some of the other people that are watching this, it's not even second. It's like five, six, seven. Like you have a whole list of
Right.
people above you in the priorities. So I had my mom and my dad and my two siblings and my grandparents and my friends, and then there was me.
Wow, you're into like polygamy in your family.
Oh yeah, and not in a fun way.
Not in a fun way. Hello. And I talk a lot about polygamy inside of the relationships of business as a great
Hmm.
example. And like, it's the polygamous business model. Imagine if your relationship to your business was always being totally honorable and trusting and vulnerable with whoever was in front of you, with no expectations. And
Hmm.
that in itself is part of this change that can happen for us all, that Siris and I are talking about, because there's a different energy going on in our world right now, right? Can you guys feel
Yeah.
it? Yeah. And what if it
I do,
wasn't
I
wrong?
do.
Yeah, you do. Duh.
And that's one of the things I love about the kids that are showing up right now and that are growing up in this world where everything's so accessible, is that it's actually all the more they get all this information, they get all this input in a different way, and it seems like it's even more essential for them to know what's true for them because they're getting it. It's not just, oh, their family, like maybe when we were growing up, or their community or the city that they live in. It's like they have access to the entire world in a in the information that they're getting on the internet, in the movies and the TV shows and the music, and that's phenomenal. And I get that I was always aware of that anyway on an energetic level, even if I didn't have the internet in my life until like I had my little Macintosh computer.
Right.
You guys remember the little Macintosh? Well, they weren't little; they were like big mofo's. But yeah, it opened up this whole world to me. But even before the computers and the technology, we are aware of people all over the world of things that were going around and going on around the world anyway. And yet these students and these kids that I'm working with now, and that maybe some of you know as well that you might have in your life, like they're exposed to all these different things, and a lot of the parents that I'm dealing with and are really tempted to try to protect them, to want to like put those blockers down and the barriers. And how many of us are trying to do that as well, thinking that that's going to protect us from all the input that we're getting? And does that actually work for you to put up the walls and barriers to try to protect yourself from this input and information and awareness? Or is something else possible there?
Yeah, well, seriously, it's been at least like 2,000 years that we've been kind of modeling our planetary culture on the same precepts that it is functioning from today. And some of those
Mm,
are define yourself, hold to the definitions of yourself. And although there may be places where that can work, who taught you or who showed you what those definitions of you are that kind of like covered the essential you, like we talked about, the authentic you in our last Facebook Live.
Yeah.
And if you were to drop all those barriers, guess what? You get to see you.
Yay! And you get to be you and have you. What?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, I love the emojis showing up in the chat. This is so great. Yes, that. It's like Olaf from Frozen. Like, how many of us are freezing our creating of our lives by waiting for the input and information from other people and like looking externally, and we're kind of like, is this right? Is this right? Oh, that's not right. This is wrong here. And we'll keep looking here and we're not really moving forward.
Yeah.
Some more Frozen emojis and stickers. Yes, totally apropos. It's like they know I work with kids and I love kids. Yes.
Yeah, it's like we're bouncing back and forth. How many of you are bouncing back and forth between right, wrong, right, wrong, right, wrong, right, wrong? And that's like the total breadth of what can happen in your world right now in relationship to the vulnerability you can have with you, the vulnerability you can have with others. And like, Siris works with kids all the time. Do you ever see those kids, put up, what do you want to call it, a persona or a personality act for long? Or do they like step into it and they're like, okay, this isn't working anymore? And yeah.
And take it off. And they put it in. Take
it off, put the box on the head, put the pot on the head, take it off, whatever it is. And if you catch yourself in that and you're like, oh, wow, I just noticed I'm doing that. What different possibility would you have with yourself in the future? Because everyone else is watching you put the bag on your head and take it off constantly. But the weird part is nobody's going to tell you that because they don't want to make you uncomfortable. So everybody's like, oh yeah, there's the person that puts the pot on their head constantly over and over when they talk. Although I like the pot, I really get there's something under the pot that's different than the pot.
So like, what would that look like? Like, I get what you mean, but like, give me an example of like how that can show up in the world. Like, have you ever been the person that was putting their pot over on their head and then everyone else was like, what are you doing, dude? Like,
sure.
Where are you? Could you take the pot off?
Well, should we talk about like the most mundane manifestation of that in our reality is being a man or being a woman. Mm-hmm. And if you go back to when you're much shorter, I mean, like maybe not, maybe a little bigger. When you're a lot younger and you didn't have all these points of view about the right way to be about you, your being in the fun and the play of life. If you were a boy, were you trying to be a man or were you being you? If you were a girl, were you trying to be a girl or were you being you? Yeah. And just know, what comes up for you is true for you in this, conversation. But that, Siris, that piece where, what if you could have that childlike, amazing verb for life and living in your business relationships and in your personal relationships, where you're always like, what's the word I'm looking for? You're always like coherent with what works for you.
Mm-hmm. We got a little comment here, Matt. It says, oh my God, that reminds me of when my little foster boy put the cake lid on the top of his head like a crown. LOL. Yeah. Like, what if we could have that? And it just take off all the lids and costumes and just put them on and off. Like, it's Halloween every day. Like, it's like, what would we like to play with? And you can change outfits all the time. Like, I remember resisting, like when you have the TV shows and you have a woman on the sitcom or TV show that changes outfits like 3-4 times over the course of one day. And I was like, that's so wasteful. Oh my gosh, that's that's so excessive. Can't you just wear the same outfit all day long? And like, why does she need to do that? I was totally getting now that I was picking up on the points of views of the adults around me that really wanted that consistency, that really wanted us to say the same all the time. And it was a way for them to have a sense of control. So it's like, oh, this is what they can expect all the time with me as a kid. That's what they can expect with whatever area of their life, that they would want that consistency. And if we have everything the same all the time, like, one, is that fun for you? And two, it doesn't work for me. I don't know about you, Matt. Like, but then two, it's like, how are you actually going to have more? How would you get to receive more and be more and create more if you're doing consistent?
Yeah. Consistency is so yesterday, Siris. Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Like, let's just let go about that. That was so like yesterday. That was so 1,000, 2,000 years ago.
Well, it really is. And I mean, in this space of what else is possible beyond this old way of functioning that we're calling ourselves, is literally this doorway where you can step into the ease and the joy and the play that you were as a child at some point. I know some of you may have had shorter periods of it, but go back and just find one of those moments where you're just like in the glory of life, and it may have been all of 10 seconds long. And what if you could have that energy and bring that back into your energy and reinstitute it and recreate it constantly in your now? And that could actually roll forward into, you know, what your future is going to be like. Is that something you'd love to have? And if you would, then this is the conversation to be listening to.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I love that, especially if you look at those moments where you didn't make anything significant, you just got to play. Like, how much more play could we have in our lives? Like, I started like acknowledging how much I change voices and play around with the kids I work with. And then I started doing that because most of my calls and classes now, they mostly have adults, but then they'll have some kids in there. And I'll change voices while I'm facilitating. And I know you do this all the time, Matt, where you're like all of a sudden like a ghoul, and then you'll be like a valley girl, and then you'll be like, okay, now I'm a wizard and I'm Mickey Mouse and whatever it is, and you change your voice all the time. And like, you don't have to do it in any way that Matt or me or anyone else does it. But like, what is your sense of play? Like, what does that look like for you? And what if you could add more of that into your life and have more of that in your life again?
Yeah, that sense of play. And that's like critical, Siris, to have that sense of play. Or otherwise, guess what? Is work fun at all if you don't have that sense of play? And
No.
let's face it, nobody likes work in the first place. So, you know, what we want to invite you to is a different way of being, because in relationship, I mean, everything's a relationship in a certain elemental way in this, you know, on this planet. And if you were willing to be play, to have play, to go get the tools you need to, you know, like embody playfulness in your every moment, you'd be irresistible.
Maybe there's some headphones.
Headphones.
These colorful headphones. I used to have the little earbud ones, and I was like, this takes up more space in my luggage, but they're so much fun. So, okay.
Yeah. How many people feel like their head always needs to be in a vice so that they can keep their shit together? I'm not talking about you, Siris. I think yours are
no.
And okay, come on. I'm coming back. What was I talking about? There I go. Okay.
That some people feel like they have to have their lives and their heads in a vice.
Yeah, they're always in a vice because they're trying to stay in their heads, but all the amazing possibilities are out here. Like if I had really big hair, they'd be out like about here, but I don't. I don't have any hair. So anyway. That's not true. That is not true. You should see my back.
Okay.
True story.
All right. All right, so
Anyway,
maybe you can send me some
this is
photos.
this is not the relationship conversation. Hang up.
But here's the thing, though, y'all. Can you perceive the energy that Matt and I are being with each other? Where we're not in our heads. We're seeing where it goes. Exactly. Another sticker, playfulness of like the rosy, but with connotations. Like we're just like irreverent about our lives and how we create, and we're inviting you to have that as well, and to acknowledge where you're already being that. Because for many of y'all, I get the sense if you're listening to us, if you've made it through the end of this video, that you would already be joy in the world in a lot of ways. And it's like, okay, let's acknowledge that, and then what else? How much more can we be that?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's something that I just stepped into recently, that be more than that. And have you ever like been going through the oscillations of your day, and all of a sudden something just pops out and you're just like, wow, that is the energy of something I would love to have in my life. And I read this book recently called The Return of the Gentleman, from Dr. Dane Heer. And as soon as I got about 10 pages into it, Siris, it was just like, wow, I cannot believe I've been in this, this pool of personal development and getting all my shit together for 10 years. And this is just showing up because,
Wow.
yeah, well, it took 10 years to get all the I'm unhappy out of the way, but I'm here. I hope you guys have a shorter path track, and I think you will. We've done the work for you. But anyway, this energy of the Return of the Gentleman Club was perfect because it speaks to all the energy that I am as a being, that I embodied as a child. And it's so different than this reality that a lot of people think it's wrong. But I don't care, because if I have to be wrong to be happy, then I'll do it. How many times have you seen a kid do the same thing?
But it's like, yep. Anyways, I'm gonna still cry. I'm gonna still cry in the middle of the grocery store. I'm gonna still stomp my feet. I don't care if boogers are coming down my face. Like whatever. Like it's your deal.
Yeah.
If there's an issue about it, I don't have an issue about it. And that was absolutely key for me to know what was true for me, is to actually be willing to be wrong. And it actually takes a lot less energy to be willing to be wrong than to look for all the ways to try to be right all the time. And I was exhausted and depressed and anxious all the time, looking for the right way, the right things to do. And now I'm like, what's going to light me up? What's going to work here? What's going to create more?
Yeah, exactly. And, we're not saying that it's like your target is to be more wrong and that's going to make you happy. But if you're willing to not do this left, right, wrong, plus minus thing, would you find all the other 9 billion possibilities that exist in the gray areas in between those, around those, and beyond those that might really work for you? So that's not right, not wrong, but free. So who wants to be free? Raise one of your body parts if you'd like to be free. Anyone will do. Okay, good. All right. Awesome. Yeah.
That's so great.
Well,
I'm just picturing all over the world, like all these body parts like up in the air and different ones. Like there's butts in the air and there's like elbow in the air. And
Parts is parts. You got to face it.
Yeah. How does it get any better than that?
Yeah. So what do you have coming up? I know you're like very active. I was looking at your schedule yesterday on Facebook, and it was just like there was like classes every other day until the end of time. So what's the core of the stuff that you do that really makes you come alive?
I love empowering children and families. I love helping people actually still receive from the child that they were, which is one of the calls I'm doing right now. We just started today, and it's where are you still functioning as the child that you were? So that joy of embodiment, the curiosity, the play and exploration, and acknowledging that, and having that more. And then also looking at the places where you might not be functioning in the way that you'd like if you're still throwing tantrums, is if you're still behaving in an age appropriate, inappropriate way, if you're having a hard time getting out of bed and paying bills, because as a kid, you don't have to do any of that. Somebody else is doing that for you. Then let's look at that and actually choose a different
Yeah.
possibilities. And then I'm traveling all over facilitating bars and facelift and foundation. I'm in New York now. I'm going to be in San Diego and Chicago next. And what else is
Hmm.
possible?
Oh, that sounds great. So you like, you've got a whole lot of classes going on that are really kid centric and also possibility centric for people.
Yeah, yeah, because there's people on the calls that they don't have kids right now, but they get that they're getting triggered or that they're behaving in ways that aren't really working for them. That's taking them back to moments in their childhood when their parent said something or did something, when a caregiver or teacher said something, and it's and they want to choose something else. They want to not have that control them anymore and limit them.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are beautiful. Wow. Yeah. How cool is that? Yeah, there's a different possibility for however you function in this reality now. And there's
Hmm.
so many possibilities with the tools of access consciousness, which we're both facilitators of, um, to step into something that works for you and not have to be this painful embroilment of trauma and drama anymore. And how much would you
Yeah.
guys like to have more of that?
Yes.
A
Yes.
little bit more, or fuckloads.
Fuckloads. Now, here's the thing. You have some stuff coming up as well. You're bringing up the Return of the Gentleman. Don't you have an event with that coming up?
Yeah, so I'm actually sponsoring the Return of the Gentleman introduction, which is part of Relationship Done Differently with Simone Milasas and Brandon Watt, who are some,
Ooh, two of my favorite people.
yeah, those guys are so kind. Oh my God. And they have this 2.5 day class called Relationship Done Differently that's happening in New South Australia on the 18th, I believe, is when it starts in the States, maybe the 19th. But
Hmm.
the the subcategory of that class is called the Return of the Gentleman. And I mean, you mentioned earlier, Siris, about a quote somewhere on this class that really rang for you, about the Return of the Gentleman, and I'll try to sum it up the best as I can remember. But it
Yeah.
was, what value would it have for women in the world today to know where men are functioning from, know what they desire, and know what they require, but not from the point of figure out what they want and then provide it, but more from, oh, I'm going to be really vulnerable and honest with myself, and this is exciting for me. Now I don't have to do any guesswork, and I can
Hmm.
really know where this new generation of men are functioning from. Because face it, folks, we're really different than what reality of, the World War II reality says a man should be.
Yeah.
Men are much kinder and more perceptive, and also have a very different set of needs. And you women, you guys are so different. You're running around with swords now. How cool is that? You know, I have to duck every once in a while. I'm like, yeah, that girl's she's got her mojo on. Yes, I like that a lot.
But I would definitely agree with what you're saying, Matt. I mean, that's definitely been my experience with most of the men in my life. And one of the things that I've been asking for is for, gosh, for there to be that communion between men and women, men and men, where there isn't this separation, where there's this gifting and receiving, and part of what's required to do that is exactly what you're saying, where we're willing to know what works for the people that we're talking with, what they can hear, what they can't hear, what their needs are, and
Mm-hmm.
not from making it that their needs are greater than your needs, just like what we've been talking about in this whole video. No one else's needs are greater than your needs, but what if by knowing what they require, you can actually create more together?
Yeah, and
That's all.
that is so brilliant. Yeah, and that leads into this possibility of something called Creationship, which hasn't existed on our planet before. So there's like no ancient language is worth fuck all around this because it's something that's brand new. All of
Yeah.
our old wisdom can't apply because it doesn't have any traction with it because it's something brand new that hasn't happened yet.
Hmm.
Which that's a huge excitement for me because I'm like, God, I've been looking for something new for 10 billion years. Oh my God, it's here. How cool is that?
It's here! Woohoo!
But the one piece about the Return of the Gentleman class is I'm going to host that. It's 4 lovely men coming out of Australia. Hannes, Mark, Sewell, and Romaine. They're actually from 4 different countries, which is even cooler.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah, I love that.
4 different countries, right? And these guys are going to do an evening intro class that you can either attend online or you can come to Tucson, Arizona and attend it with me and we can actually watch it together. And then you'll have plenty of time and a CF facilitator to be the space and answer the questions and open the doors. So.
And here's the thing, the last time I checked, you were the only person in the United States doing a pod for this, right, Matt?
I know.
So far. Like, oh my goodness.
Or that
I think
nobody
so.
cares.
I really hope it's that nobody cares. I care. I care.
I know you
I care about gentlemen. I care about men. I care about women. I care about the world. And I get that by both of us, by both men and women creating together and actually receiving from each other and being aware of all of the infinite possibilities, that we get different pieces. We get it in different ways. And so when we're actually willing to get the information that that person has with our information too, wow, like how much more would be possible in the world. And there doesn't have to be the conflict and the battle of the sexes. Like, I'm not battling with you, Matt. Sorry. I have my sword in my sheath right now. So
that's okay. There's a great place. I have some bread that needs to be cut. So can I?
Perfect. Yay. I'd be willing to cut the bread for you and then eat the bread because I'm hungry.
Chop, chop. But nobody loses their head.
Or any other bits.
Yeah, or any other bits. And when you're in that space of 2 people that come together that are actually willing to do stuff so differently that they're probably going to be judged for being so happily different, there's a different possibility. We're definitely inviting you to this possibility. And we've got some classes coming up we're going to do together. You want to talk about the Creationship call?
Yes. So we have ladies and gentlemen. So both ladies and gentlemen, truly relationship and creationship calls we're going to be doing. We're going to do one call there. It's on May 10th and it's at 1 p.m. Central Time for the US. So it's evening for Europe. And it's, gosh, I think the people in Australia and New Zealand are sleeping, but there is a audio replay that is available with the call if you register. And we're going to go to all these places that we've been talking about and more, and really bring your questions about and the situations that are coming up for you in this call about where you'd like to actually have more communion, more receiving, more awareness and ease and maybe fun, perhaps.
Fun?
What?
In relationship?
Is that possible? Is that allowed?
Come to our class and find out.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I really hope that you guys get a chance to join Matt's call, the Return to the Gentleman intro that he's doing the pod for, or make it to Noosa, Australia. It's really beautiful there. I loved it when I went.
Yeah. So a pod or a pop, what that means is you come to my house, we'll sit down and watch it together. And then if you want to watch it live, which unfortunately I believe is like 1 o'clock in the morning, since it's coming out of Australia, you can do that also and see it live at the event right before Simone and Brendan's relationship done differently, which, oh my God, that may erase the entire planet's definition of how to do relationship. And God, what would it take?
Oh my gosh, here's hoping. That would be amazing. Oh, and with that as well, last little tidbit, and I know we got to get going here. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching this whole time. I really appreciate it. Is that they have a book, Relationship, Are You Sure You Want One? And I tore through the book, and it was amazing. Like, I think that part of what my brain not really being here right now was that book. Like, it's still reverberating throughout my being, and it's completely changing how I look at how I've been choosing relationship to do relationship in the past and what I would actually like to do now and in the future. And wow, just what else is possible with that? It's a phenomenal book. So you should definitely not purchase it and get it and read it and tear through it either, because you don't want to actually have ease with relationships and fun, right? Don't do it. Thank you, everyone, for checking in with us and watching, and hopefully we'll see you again in our next videos.
See you guys. Love you all. Bye.
Bye.